Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the first IndieWebCamp Baltimore ever. Yay! Yeah, give yourselves a hand. We're going to do this thing. Oh, you should have brought it. No, that thing is terrifying. I'm glad you didn't. This looks terrible, and I should have put it into Aaron's lovely presentation template. So, step one, announce, we did it. Brief history of the IndieWeb and what it is. Aaron could probably tell you this better, but I'm going to take a crack at it. Essentially, in the last several years, we've been living in a world of silos where it's much easier to just put something on Facebook, take a quick picture and throw it on Instagram, get notifications and tap like, and hope that your friends do the same. And it wasn't always this way. And in fact, before the silos had clearly taken over, back in 2011, a group of people, including Aaron, who's here visiting us from Portland, as well as Tantek Celik, Amber Case, and Crystal Beasley, was that her name? Got together and organized the first IndieWebCamp in 2011. Back then, it was the IndieWebCamp. It was one event that then grew to a larger organization and became what we call the IndieWeb today. IndieWeb, we'll go ahead and look at this. What is the IndieWeb? Loosely, it's folks operating around a set of principles. So number one is like own your data. When you post that thing to Facebook and forget about it, Facebook may also choose to forget about it. They might take it down. You might get booted from Facebook and lose your account. Or it might just disappear into the algorithm and you won't be able to find it later. So one critical aspect of owning your stuff is that you have a copy of it. In fact, you have the canonical copy of it. We believe in, we believe in scratching your own itch. So build stuff for yourself. This particular note comes out of a lot of sort of like standards bodying, a lot of conferences that were built around talking about idealized futures where all data is interoperable because all systems are perfect. And we believe in like just build the thing that works for you. If you want to make maps on your website, like please do that. If you want to have interactive JavaScript toys on your website, please do that. Like don't wait for someone to write a spec for it. Definitely, if it doesn't exist. And prove it by making it yourself. What do we have here? Creating, I mean, the number one thing here that we care about is that you have your own domain and you're putting stuff on it. If you're doing that, and it doesn't matter what software you're using, how technically skilled you are, if you're creating on your own domain, you're part of the IndieWeb, and we're very glad to have you. Let's see. What else is the IndieWeb? The IndieWeb is also a community. So one of the big, important, central aspects of that community is the IndieWeb.org wiki, available at IndieWeb.org. Now with a new, nice, friendly homepage to kind of let you know what's going on. But we use this to organize pretty much everything we do. So I'm reading these notes to you from the IndieWeb wiki. We organize our events on the wiki. We work on new protocols, new ideas, new ways of publishing stuff. All of that eventually ends up on the wiki as a resource. A very, very deep resource. So as a warning, like if you really want to get in and like absorb the IndieWeb, set aside another weekend to just go wiki crawling. It's actually way more fun than Wikipedia if you've ever been down one of those wiki holes. Anyone can edit this wiki. We invite people. There's no like gatekeeping process where you need to ask someone to get an account. All you need is to have your own domain, have your own website, and set it up with a few key things that we'll definitely be covering here, but are also covered on the wiki itself about like essentially how to make your site machine readable enough that the wiki says like, all right, you got this together. And then you can come on in, add yourself. I'll talk more about the chat in a second. But first, this is an event with people in the IndieWeb. All events have a code of conduct. So the short version is be respectful of other people, respectfully ask people to stop if you are bothered, and if you can't resolve an issue, contact staff. If you are the one being a problem, it will be apparent and you'll be asked to leave. So for the purposes of that, if anybody is having a problem, basically it's like, this is a no harassment space. Everybody be cool. If anyone feels like someone is not being cool to you, feel free to talk to me. I'm Marty. Feel free to talk to Jonathan. He works here. He's got authority. Feel free to talk to Aaron. He's been at like every one of these events, so he'll know if behavior smells bad. But you can also go to indieweb.org/code-of-conduct to see the whole thing. And we want people to be nice to each other, and we think having rules helps us do that. More on community. So we're also a global community. People are online all the time, all over the world. And in order for us to communicate, we need channels. We don't believe in email. Email is terrible and dumb. So instead, we use IRC as sort of like the central thing that's also bridged to Slack if you prefer Slack, because it's just usually better for most people. If you're not super old school. We've got several channels that are about different things. IndieWeb is the main channel, and that's typically just like the welcome room. From there, if you're like needing to ask dev help about some WordPress plugin that's broken, oh, it's not in this list, but there is an IndieWeb WordPress channel. If you're like, I'm having trouble figuring out why this parser won't do my markup right, that's going to go in IndieWeb Dev. If you're doing event planning, so like questions about the events going on today will probably be in IndieWeb Meta. If you're like, oh, I forgot, when does that session start again? And then there's some other ancillary channels. IndieWeb Chat is, it's not archived anywhere, so if you need to talk smack about Facebook, like that's a good spot to do it. And then there's a handful of channels for individual technologies like microformats, Bridgie, which you'll learn more about, and Known. So like if you have specific questions about specific tech, there's usually a channel for the users of that tech to help you out. We're huge fans of documentation. The reason we started late is because we are trying to get all of our video capture and streaming stuff working well. So most of the stuff here is going to be recorded today. We've got a streaming rig in the back for folks remotely participating to tune in. Hi. We've also got Aaron recording. Where's the camera for this? It's back there? It's right there. Hello. So there's a speaker camera. We've also got an audience camera. And we have HDMI for people doing demos. Is that getting this right now? Should I have plugged in a computer? No, it's fine. It's fine. OK. I'll just trust Aaron. He knows what he's doing. So when you give demos, just plug in. It should all be fine. And we'll be recording this for later. Anybody who's not comfortable being filmed or having your picture taken, let us know. We understand that like not everybody wants to be on the internet, despite this being a thing about publishing on the internet. Being in control is very important. So if you are uncomfortable being photographed, just let one of the organizers know, and we'll work something out. In general, the rule is like be respectful. If you're gonna get up and take a picture of everyone, like check in and be sure people are cool with it. And I think that usually works. Other documentation sessions later this afternoon will be like participant-driven discussions, and we'll talk more about that later. But we also want to make sure we don't lose the discussion. So we'll have note takers, and we have a service called Etherpad that's just like always running for the IndieWeb. It's like a live Google Docs, but they did it first and better. And you'll just want to pick one or more people in your session to take notes in the Etherpad. And then afterwards, we'll come through and like sweep those up and format them nicely and put them on the wiki for the future. To give a brief schedule for today, we're going to start out very shortly with demos. And that's like everybody who feels comfortable showing off your website, or if you don't have one, just come up, tell us who you are and whether you want a website and what you hope to put there. But we'll have a few minutes each to basically show like one or two features off about your website and maybe give an idea of like something you're hoping to learn this weekend or something you'd like to implement and need help with. After demos, we're going to make the session schedule, and there will be more details when we get into that. But that's your opportunity to say, like, I'm here to talk about whatever, either because you like know a lot about it and want to share it, or more interestingly, like because it's on your mind and you have questions and you want to work through something with other people. Bar camp style sessions with lunch break. That bullet should go away. after this, after we do session planning, we will have lunch. Then we will come back and do sessions. Tomorrow is more of a work day. We call it a hack day. Often when I do that, my friends are like in the movie Hackers. No, the answer is you will be working, we'll be co-working on our sites together. It's a time for, if you find people that want to work on the same kind of thing, it's a great time to collaborate. Otherwise, it's a great time to just set aside and do that thing for your website that you've been talking about doing or thinking about doing and haven't been doing. We'll have lunch brought in that day. Still don't know what we're going to do yet. We'll see how many people show up. Maybe it'll be pizza. Maybe it'll be good. And then at the end of the day, we have demos to show everything off and close everything out. I'm going to save the session planning stuff for later. So that brings us to thanks to our sponsors, and actually thanks to everybody who helped facilitate this. So I'm very excitable, and I really like the IndieWeb. And after going to a few different IndieWebCamps last year, I was like, Baltimore, we have to do this. So I just want to thank Jonathan for being a great co-organizer. We have a bi-weekly homebrew website club that meets every other Tuesday. We'll be meeting this coming Tuesday as well. So if you want to get really overloaded on IndieWeb, come on out. And Jonathan's been having us hosted here at DHF, which is a great space, and I really appreciate it. Thanks also to Aaron for putting a lot of work in, like making sure the schedule is going to work this weekend and bringing this amazing streaming setup that baffles me now that I'm standing inside of it. Thank you to Amy as well for all of her work collecting local resources, bringing really good food. There's really good food over there too. And thanks to Digital Harbor Foundation for hosting us here. Jonathan, do you want to come up and say a bit about DHF?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right, well, welcome everyone to Digital Harbor Foundation. We just had our 5th anniversary showcase on Thursday, so it was very exciting. Derek and Marty and Amy were here, and it was very full of youth presenting and community, and now it looks totally different in here, which is one of the things I love about our space is it's completely modular. So yeah, welcome everyone. We are a youth and educator-focused tech center. We've been around since 2013. We reopened the closed South Baltimore Rec Center, which is this building that we are in, reimagined it as a space for youth to explore and be their passions with technology, give them access and guidance, and also share that out with educators. We're nonprofit. All of our programs pay what you can for youth, 3rd through senior year. And there's a lot of cool things here. If you just are walking around and want to see what something is, just ask and we will show you. A couple of logistic things. We have 2 bathrooms. Men's room through the kitchen to the right, and then there's a ladies' room in the hallway, right out the door to the left. We also have another single-use bathroom across the hall in the director's office. You can just go in if the others are full. And other things, Wi-Fi, DHF Guest is good network to be on. There's no password for it. And yeah, just if you see something here that's cool, just you want to check it out, just let me know, or Marty or Amy or Derek, and we can show you. But yeah, welcome. Really excited to be hosting. I've loved doing Homebrew Website Club with Marty over the last 14 months. So yeah, 14 months, and very excited to be here for this. So any weird issues you encounter with Wi-Fi or power or anything, just let me know. I can hopefully help get that resolved for you. And yeah, just thank you for coming. We're excited and welcome to our space.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Great. So we'll go ahead and get started with introductions and, like personal introductions and demos. So to kick us off, we're going to have Gregor show how it's done. Basically, just introduce yourself, your domain, and any features on your site that you want to show off. We have an HDMI cable up here that should make it easy to plug in. If anybody doesn't have a HDMI port, we can use this demo machine. And
Once it's switched to 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll stand up here to do video switching. Great. Well,
Give
Gregor, would you
give me the mic holder.
do you need me to hold the mic for you?
I can get a mic
I don't know.
stand.
I don't know. It looks like a tripping hazard. There you go. Is that the wrong thing, too?
Hi everybody, I'm Gregor. My website is...
Oh, let's try 3.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, Greg.
3?
Yeah.
That did
There
There
we
we
go.
forgot we changed it. Sorry about that.
So my name is Gregor. My website is gregorlove.com. I've been blogging for a really long time, and I've been involved in the indie web for a few years now. And one of the things I'm going to demo today is posting notes on my own site and syndicating that elsewhere. So that's also known as Posse. And this is my posting interface. I've already kind of pre-populated it, so I don't have to type up here. So I just got this note, hello from IndieWebCamp, Baltimore. I've got a little checkbox here that says I'm going to syndicate this to Twitter. And hopefully this works. So there's a note on my site, and I've got a button there that says tweet this. So this is normally a semi-automated process. I can do that automatically, but what I'm actually going to do is put down the mic. Yeah,
I'm too late.
no, it's all right. I'll probably be doing it anyway. So this is a service called Bridgie. This is the service that I use to, like I said, semi-automate those tweets. But it also has like an interactive mode, and I'm just going to demo that so you can kind of see what it does. So I have my URL for that note that I just posted, and I can paste it in here. And scroll down here and it says, this is the preview of what your tweet's going to look like. And I'm like, okay, I want to send that. And it's going to do a little authentication dance with Twitter. And now it's done. And there it is on Twitter. Back here on my site, normally when I do this, when I click this button, it does all that, everything I just did in the background, and it actually takes that tweet link and it'll put it in the bottom there. It says also on, so it'll have also on, and it's a link to Twitter. So they're linked back and forth. And some of the other people coming up with demos, they're going to show you interacting with this note. So they're going to like it on Twitter. And I'll get that fed back through Bridgie, that same service. So it'll show up on here. I'll have a like. And then people can also reply on their own site. They can send a note that's in reply to this, and that should show up as a comment under this if it all works well. So that's my demo.
Great. Who'd like to go next? Anyone can go at all. Don't be shy. I'll go. Yay! I don't have anything to. My stuff's all stupid. Sorry, thank you. And that was my.
Is that your website?
That's my whole website. We'll have you go in a bit, Adam. Yeah, you got it? Okay.
We had a bit of a coffee accident.
Right. This is good for you.
Just make sure there's no weird stuff on my computer, like passwords.
Right. Good to double check. May take a second to do that.
Yep.
Or let's see. Yep. It made a second screen for you.
Yeah, right.
You can see that here if you want. To your right.
Slightly.
Slightly easier. Sure.
Hello. Hi, I'm Arthur Pakin. This is my website, arthurpakin.com. It looks weird on that screen, but fine. It's powered by a static site generator that I wrote, and it was basically how I really learned to code a few years ago by just being really excited about publishing my own site and writing software for it. Prior to that, I was building sites with WordPress mostly, so I didn't go deep into code, and it's just templates and plugins sometimes. I run a web studio where I build websites for clients, and I try to encourage as many people as possible also to run their own blogs and not just go to Medium or whatever, and I help them with that. The site supports 2 languages, and I guess that's the coolest feature, because other than that, it's a static site generator. I'm looking into maybe adding some of the cooler IndieWeb stuff to it. I'm gonna be working on that this weekend. Yes, that's basically it. Thanks.
Who would like to go next?
I can go.
Yeah, thank you. And anybody who would like to follow, like let's just get an on deck circle going. So we can queue up. We've also got a mic stand now, so that should help people.
Should be sturdy.
How about that? Give that a shot. And then what can I plug in?
Yeah.
I'll just do it for you since I'm standing right here. Why make you do work?
Right.
Should show up.
That is not my website.
It might have started a second desktop.
Oh, yeah, it totally did.
Yeah.
In some direction.
See if I could just do
Yeah.
that. There we go. Close enough. Cool. That is my website. So my name is Russell Heimlich, like the maneuver. This is my website that I put up in 2006 and haven't touched since, really. It has a Flash version all the way up this, because that was a cool thing back in the day. But it's really hard to run Flash, apparently. I haven't done this in a while, so it looks like the same thing. So one of my plans of this weekend is to update my website. But also, you know, I started a WordPress blog on accident, and then I started blogging. So I did that for a couple of years, and that got me into WordPress. So I do a whole bunch of WordPress stuff now. I'm a WordPress developer full time. So one of the things I also like to do is archive all my tweets. So this is a WordPress plugin and theme that will automatically suck down all my tweets and store it in an archive in real time and categorize it, and I can search it and stuff like that. So that stuff's all on GitHub too. And then I have 2 daughters, and they each have websites that are on WordPress. And so this sucks in data from Instagram, which is really easy actually to parse and to steal without using their API, to just scrape their pages and pull out the JSON payload on the page. So there's 2 sites with that pulls down videos and images. This is my GitHub repository. I also have another thing I wrote that it's like a cron job, and it monitors my Instagram feed and automatically posts to Twitter. But instead of just posting a link to Instagram, it actually just posts the actual photo in line so you can see it, and video, like it used to do a long, long time ago. So those are kind of the things I play with. So my goal this weekend is to build on some of this stuff. So thanks.
And while Adam's going out, let's get somebody on deck, please. It could be you, Eddie.
Hopefully. All right. We'll see. Yeah, man. Introducing.
Everybody who's getting up, watch your coffee.
It's
gonna show up.
Oh, you're gonna hit number 3 once you plug in. Sorry.
let's see.
It's probably maybe I'll pop up another desktop on your.
Oh, there. Yeah. Sweet. Oh, look at. Oh, all right. Let me see if I can mirror. So I'm gonna mirror.
Yeah,
so I
sorry,
don't
it's
have to
a
look
little.
up. No worries. Mirror. Mirror. Cool. Yes. All right. Hi, my name is. Oh, I just closed the thing. My name is Adam Bachman. I'm a web developer here in Baltimore. I work for a company called Adafruit and do all their stuff, Ruby on Rails, Node. I work on a product called IO, so it's IoT, platform as a service. But my personal site is all static, and I don't have a lot of the cool indie web technology to talk about because it's hard to do it as a day job all day and then come home and do it for fun. So the things I do for fun are kind of toys. So just a couple sketches. So that I did recently because the Hawaii thing was hilarious, and like web developers putting together sketches. So this is like, I actually managed to duplicate. This is reverse engineered, but this is kind of what they were looking at. So you can see how it's tricky. Good, I got it once, but if you didn't, I accidentally. This one actually sends to everybody in Maryland. So if you're a Maryland citizen, ignore your text messages for the next 5 minutes. This is a thing I did. This is a Wolfram one-dimensional cellular automata generator. Basically, my intention is to get all the creative energies out in a way that I can see quick feedback. So I love JavaScript, I love processing, I love one-off index.html style page that I can sync up to my personal website. So my domain is basically my own personal Dropbox public folder. It's a $5 DigitalOcean instance. They just upgraded those to a gig of RAM. And I wrote my own Capistrano clone in a single rake file, which was fun. That was like a itch-scratching weekend project. It bundles up my local directory into a tar file, SCPs it to a server, unpacks it into a folder whose name is a timestamp, and then links it to a directory named current, restarts Nginx, which starts serving current. And yeah, so a few other toys, but that's basically my thing.
Nice.
Cool.
Hello, everybody. My name is Derek. I work here at DHF. So,
Number 3. There you go.
so this is my site. It's a really simple site, just a static site. It's being hosted off of GitHub. Obviously, I have a domain, derek.is, and it's forwarded that site to the GitHub static page, and I pretty much started learning web development about a year and a half ago, and I also took a course on Udacity, which helped me build this site. And this site is built with Bootstrap, but I want to move away from frameworks and just use CSS Grid and Flexbox. So yeah, the links. This link goes to like a blog page. These buttons, these like buttons are completely fake. I'll let you guys explore this little link thing. This has been brought up with jQuery, and these links are completely dead. They don't do anything. I made this site. I do most of my work on brackets. I use my go-to editor, and I just once I'm done making changes, I just push it up to GitHub with this little GitHub extension. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. What I plan on working on today is maybe doing a little bit of updates to my site, and I want to also have a microcontroller that can push out a website, a static website, and I want to put like a little virtual world that stems from a microcontroller using A-frame, and maybe using some AJAX set with some interactivity with the like sensors and stuff like that, and I can like control the virtual world through the microcontroller. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
What was your domain name again?
Darkfields.is.
I think I put it in the chat.
Oh.
Hey, my name is Eddie, and my website is eddiehinkle.com. And I'm going to continue a little bit off of, oh, that's right. Oh, okay.
And you, oh, yeah, there it is.
Oh, there we go. So I'm going to continue off of what Gregor did. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is open up my Twitter app, and there we see "Hello from IndieWebCamp Baltimore" by Gregor at the top. And so one thing that I've been doing is building a native iOS client that actually allows me to post to my site. So I've got the share sheet here. I'm going to go ahead and open up, and on the left it says MicroPub, which is a IndieWeb technology that allows us to post to our website. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to pop up with different options. So I could like it on my site, I could repost on my site, different things like that. I'm going to go ahead and reply to his tweet. So you see it says reply to in the Twitter URL up there, and I can go ahead and type welcome, exclamation mark, add a tag or anything like that. And go ahead and click post, and it's going to go ahead and send that post to my site. And then what I can go ahead and do is go to my website, and should load. Here we go. And on my timeline, there we go. So in reply to the Twitter, welcome. And so I use Bridgie as well as Gregor. So if I want to go ahead and actually turn that into a tweet, then I can do what he was talking about, which is kind of self-automating it. And so I need to make this login process a little bit quicker, but all the logins.
So what are you logging into right now?
So that's a good question. So I am sending this something called a web mention through a service called Telegraph that Aaron wrote. And what it's going to go ahead and do is it's going to ping. It's going to go ahead and ping Bridgie. You see Bridgie published Twitter. So when I send what's called a web mention, which is basically the URL of my post that I just made, to Bridgie, Bridgie is going to recognize that and go ahead and create a tweet based on that. And here we go. Telegraph says it's finished. And so the status URL, it's going to go ahead and take us to the tweet I just made, welcoming him to IndieWebCamp Baltimore. So yeah, so that's my site. Besides that, I just do a variety of things. Like I like to track what I watch and what I listen to. So I've got a media ticker up here. This is one of my favorite things that just tracks movies, TV shows, and podcasts. I listen to Under the Radar on the car ride over here from Frederick. So, but yeah, thanks.
There we're all
There you go.
all happy.
All right.
Do I want to keep? Yeah.
There we go.
I'd like to see a demo that doesn't have a problem. Anyway, so my name is David Chansky. This is my website. Confusingly, if you are hanging around in our IRC, my username there is GWG, mostly because I had that on Freenode and I wasn't going to change it. So my website is a WordPress installation. I'm infamously, I suppose, known for doing WordPress plugins for indie web concepts. So if you see something here that works, you can steal it.
Yeah.
For your own website very easily. So this is the actual site. As you can see, there are RSVPs, there are check-ins, what have you, different types of. And most recently, inspired by recent inclement weather in the Northeast. What was it, bomb or whatever they were calling it?
Yeah, it was a
Vortex bomb.
vortex bomb.
Yeah.
Bomb cyclone.
Bomb cyclone. Yeah.
Vortex bomb sounds cool though.
Vortex bomb's pretty cool.
I decided that I would finally add weather. So weather's hiding here a bit, right there. It's very subtle. So this was actually done when I was testing to see if I could store altitude by trying to post on a plane. So I assume that's the temperature in North Carolina at the time because I'm almost certain that weather APIs do not take into account that it might be colder at 35,000 feet. So, yeah.
Not a lot of weather stations up that high.
No. But just so that I could demonstrate how easy that would be, I've come up with this little sample site here, since I'm not going to post to my own site right now. I have a fake character who will be posting on my behalf. So most people have seen at some point in their lives the interface for WordPress. So I've added a few extra features to it. Now this site is, other than installing some plugins, this site has not been touched. Also, it seems rather slow today. But
Transferring data. There
yeah.
it is.
So, try that again. So, in order to classify things by types of posts, you can't call anything a post type in WordPress because somebody did that already. So it goes by the term kinds. So I could do a reply, a note, a bookmark, or about 50 others that are not enabled by default. And then I can also reply to something. So I have a little box. Let's say I want to reply to IndieWeb.org/Baltimore. If I hit this nice little button, it'll try to create a nice little preview. There we are. So it fills in all the blanks based on, and you could also fill that in manually because I have learned that when automatic doesn't work, there should be a box. And I could fill in a location. There's a button for that too. User denied, you'll hit, no I didn't. Okay. There's this annoying problem that if it will not do that correctly if it is not HTTPS and none of the test sites are. So.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yes. But I can fill in weather, which is a palm tree right now. Which also apparently will not work without HTTPS. Go figure. Anyway, so fortunately I do have an HTTPS test site. Yeah. Which is public. By the way, all of my development is on a public site so people can see me embarrassing myself with odd-looking things at any given time.
It's loading.
Yes, slowly. So I also copy actual content from my regular site here in order to play with enhancements.
So many more kinds here.
Yeah, well, on my test site, every single thing is enabled by default. On my regular site, only the things I use, because some of them I did create because other people asked, and I'm nice. Ask me, and I might do it.
Oh, yeah.
So here we are. Would you like to access your location? Here it likes me. So it's coming with, are we in Dundalk, Maryland?
No, but I can see why the internet would think that.
Yeah. It got dark in here very soon. So it is, according to this, in Dundalk, it is 43.09 degrees with a 28% relative humidity. Not bad. But either way, that is the last thing I did.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you.
Let me switch it back to free real quick.
Oh, okay.
Just 'cause 3 seems a little more consistent. I don't know. Good.
All set. There's me on a time delay. Jank. Okay. All right. right. So before I show my site, I just wanted to follow on with what Gregor and Eddie were saying. So here's Gregor's tweet, and I just liked it on Twitter, and then sent a reply also on Twitter. And using the other side of Bridgie has a feature called backfeed, and it actually will find that reply on Twitter and then post it back to his website using a system called web mentions. So in the same way that Eddie posted a reply on his personal site and then said, "Hey, Gregor's site, I have a reply for you," Bridgie watches Twitter for replies to Gregor's posts, and when one appears, it then pings his site and says, "By the way, someone sent you a like," and you can see that's me here. There are a couple of others here as well. And then it also found my reply, which Gregor's site didn't quite handle, but I just sent back a wave emoji, and yeah. Few of us do, which is a fun thing. So yeah, my website is Marty McGuire with a dot before the RE. And I just wanted to show off a couple things on my site. So I have on my front page all of my upcoming events that I'm going to. You can even like subscribe to it with iCal if you want. So like you can subscribe to my public appearances in your Google Calendar. I'm still not sure why I did that, other than like it was easy. But one thing I really do like is when I post events on my site, I kind of like took the opportunity to style them. Oops, that's an RSVP. I took the opportunity to style them like kind of like Facebook. So my general site layout I think is garbage, but I kind of like these. So there's a nice little image and a little calendar thing. Nice big date and time of when it is, and then where it's going to be. You can also add these events to your calendar if you want. And then this is one that only has like one RSVP, but just like Gregor's site is showing likes and mentions and replies, my site shows RSVPs. So when people RSVP via Facebook, Bridgie will pick that up. So like I'll make a copy of my event on Facebook, and people that reply to that saying, yes, they're coming, no, they're not, that comes back to my website, and I can actually see those on my site there. And I actually made my own little tool for publishing those events, so it looks ugly because I think like most forms are ugly, but like honestly, this doesn't look much worse than Facebook's event making form. The other thing I post a lot of on my site is audio posts. Which is kind of unusual. So like Facebook and Twitter, most places you can post stuff don't treat audio as like a first-class citizen. It's like photos and video or nothing. So I have audio posts on my site that are just audio, and one of those is I do a weekly podcast called This Week in the IndieWeb Audio Edition. It basically summarizes like what's been going on the wiki, what's been going on in the news, like people writing posts about IndieWeb updates. And I take those and summarize them into a script and make them into a short, like 10-minute podcast. And then I post that directly on my site. And similar to the way I do my events, I do that by, I wrote a little client, and it just uses some simple standards, which Aaron will talk about later today. So I just like take my MP3, punch it in there, and then add some details like what this thing is about. And that becomes these posts here. And then my site actually is like the primary source for these. So rather than have like an extra domain, I just have Marty McGuire /podcast /IndieWeb, and you can subscribe to this page like in your podcast reader. It should be able to pick up the RSS feed, and of course you can also like play these live in the page if you want. I think that's it.
Not.
Are you trying to make the
Yeah.
primary? Oh,
Yeah, there we go. Okay, it just kept like switching to the other window. All right, I will fix that during lunch. All right, cool. So when Marty and I first started doing Homebrew Website Club, I didn't know anything about IndieWeb. That was my first exposure to it. I do WordPress for everything I do here at DHF. So I've known WordPress for a very long time. Write our content in WordPress for all of our programs. But I decided to start using Hugo when I first jumped into IndieWeb Homebrew Website Club. For the first year of us doing that, I used Hugo, did a lot with it, had a lot of fun exploring that and getting some of the IndieWeb tools up and running on that. Wasn't able to get Bridgie. It was just like a lot of me trying to split my time between writing content and doing things like that, and then also trying to develop tools. And I decided to switch over to using WordPress in about November. So, and my site is jonathanprosy.net. So I switched over to WordPress in November for a few reasons. One was a motivation to explore all the incredible tools that are available. So lots of awesome IndieWeb plugins, which I'm very thankful for. They really made it so that I could get up and running very quickly with a lot of the things that I was missing, like Bridgie, post signs, easily sending web mentions, things like that. I had been using Telegraph before that to send out web mentions, but Bridgie was something I was missing from when I had my Hugo site. So switched over to WordPress and using SemPress as it's an IndieWeb friendly theme. Lots of the plugins just allowed for me to really explore a lot of the IndieWeb principles that I was missing, such as like RSVPs and things like that. And then also showing likes on, pulling in the likes from Twitter and Facebook, replies and things like that on the posts themselves, which just really made it so that I felt like I could just focus on writing content for my site. And then one goal I have is to help teach some of the people that come to our Homebrew Website Club, hey, this is how you can get started using IndieWeb on WordPress, focus on a lot of that, and then let some of our attendees explore those tools. So like that's one of the main reasons I decided to switch over. I love it. And the other thing, I do a lot of fun little JavaScript processing P5 sketches, and one goal I have is to just transfer all of that into a hub on my site. So just have everything in one central location. But the WordPress process for this has been fantastic. All the tooling is great. But yeah, just pretty much just focusing on content for my site, because it handled everything else. Yeah. Thank you.
We got space on deck. Who would like to come up on deck?
All right, hi, I'm Aaron Parecki, aaronpk.com. I was going to try to use this computer to show my website on the computer, but I'll just use my phone instead. My website is aaronparecki.com. And I want to show a couple of things that of how I post to my site from my phone for using a couple of different apps and tools. This is my site. There's some stuff on it. There's some posts on it. And there's a couple things that I have on my site that not a lot of other people do, and I'm trying to help make it easier for others to do that as well, which is one thing I've been wanting to do for a long time is get check-ins on my website. So when I've been using Swarm for a long time, Foursquare, and it's been a long time wish of mine to actually have that data on my site, obviously, because it was sort of a missing piece of what I do on the internet. And I recently got it working, I think about a year ago, and realized that I actually do like the Swarm app. Like the Swarm app itself is actually very well done. The venue database is very good, and I don't want to have to recreate the entire thing, the entire tooling of how to post check-ins on my site. So instead what I do is I actually still use Swarm. So I'm going to go ahead and check in here. And I'm going to include a photo of great. Go. Hello from IndieWebCamp, Baltimore. Gonna tag some people in it. All right, so I check in on Swarm like normal. Oh yeah, awesome.
Congratulations.
I became the mayor of the coffee shop down the street too this morning. So I'm only here for 2 days, and I'm already like, apparently nobody uses Foursquare in Baltimore. So there's the check-in on Swarm. It looks like normal. Notice I didn't use anything of my own yet, but on my website, this may not be instant because it takes a little bit for the for Swarm to figure it out. But there is a tool that I wrote called Own Your Swarm, and what this does is I log in with my website and my Foursquare account. Okay, and I'm logged in, and I can actually go and make it do this manually. So here is my check-in, and the interface is really ugly because you're not supposed to ever see this. That should do it. And now if we go look at my site, and sure enough, so here is the check-in with the map, with the name of the thing, the little blue dot saying that I'm still here, and all the people I tagged, and the photo. So I made it all to my website, and even the little points come through, hanging out with so-and-so from Swarm.
Oh, can you hop to my website right quick?
Mm-hmm. Where are you?
mmg.re is the short. Yeah, it's there. If you just head on over to the post page.
So because I tagged Marty in my check-in, and because Marty also uses Own Your Swarm, it also made a check-in on his website, since he is using the same tool. And that's what his check-ins look like. So you can kind of see we have a different idea of what check-ins look like, which is cool. It's part of the joy of the IndieWeb.
I just realized my map is like wrong.
It's not the right.
My map centering is off. Yeah, it shows that like we're a block south.
Oh. Yep. Yeah. So the whole workflow. Oh, and here the other ones came through. There's the new mayor coin and the photo coin and all that. So the whole the workflow there was basically that on my website I don't have any code specific to Swarm on my website. I'm using a protocol, which we'll get into later, called Micropub, and Own Your Swarm will just send check-ins in that format, which is the same format that other tools use, like other tools people post content from, like the app that Eddie showed. And that means that I can just write code for that accepts that format, and now I can use all these other tools. So if you also use Swarm and want to get check-ins on your website, there's a pretty easy path to do that without having to do a lot of custom code. And you'll also be able to use a ton of other tools as well. There's a similar story for photos from Instagram, because I also like the Instagram app. It's nice, it works well. So if you look at photos on my site, most of these are actually posted from Instagram. There's the Instagram version of my post, and there's a similar tool basically, which I log in with Instagram and my website, connect the two, and then anytime this tool finds a photo on my Instagram account, it'll post it over to my website like a photo post, and that's yeah. So then the Instagram likes come back in replies, but those are through Bridgie, which we've heard mentioned a couple times. So you can see there's some comments here from people on Instagram, and it says via Bridgie down at the little corner. Tiny text. Yeah, so I do this because I like using, there are certain iOS apps that I still like using. I don't want to completely abandon these nice tools, but in this way I can kind of bridge the gap between these silo apps and my own website and keep the data myself. Nice. So I think that's my demo.
We got space on deck. Who hasn't gone that would like to go? It is optional, but we would like everyone to go if you can or will. Let's just show us up.
Karen, how are you still here?
I don't know how I'm still showing a frame of that. December 3.
At the Apple TV?
Yeah, it might take a second.
Yeah.
Let's jigger that, go back to it, and then
We'll try again. This is an entirely new problem.
There it goes.
Yay! Progress. That's pretty good. All right. So, hi. Hello. I'm Amy Hurst, and I want to tell you a brief story about amyhurst.com. And I think in order to really truly appreciate the story, you need to accept and understand that I'm an extremely lazy person when it comes to the web, and for the most part, I don't care about the web. Like, I don't care about the internet. Like, I don't have Facebook. I barely use my Twitter, on and on. And yet, the story ends with, I'm here at IndieWebCamp, so it's cool. I helped out with organizing. I'm not like trying to bash you guys. But I'm very like not motivated to work on my website. So I've owned amyhurst.com since, I don't know, 2008, probably earlier. And this is how it worked. This is my professional page. It was a static page. I was like, you know, F it all. I'm just going to use WordPress.com. It's free. I can just put it up and be done with it. And that existed for a couple years. And it was fine. Like, I just kept removing content because I didn't even have the energy to like update anything on there. And then I realized that WordPress.com was putting ads on my webpage. And that was just so insanely offensive to me that I was like, oh, I have to do something about it, and I don't know what to do. And so actually this is where then IndieWeb came in. And it just so happens I'm Marty's partner, so I had access to an expert who could help me, set me on the right path. And so what we did was, again, I'm super lazy, so I was like, I have this web page on WordPress. I just, you know, I don't want to really pay them. I don't want the ads there. This looks pretty embarrassing. So we used this cool tool called a spider pig that Aaron Parecki had created. And I realize now I can't quite reach everything. I had maximized it. So we used Aaron's tool, SpiderPig, which was able to completely slurp up all of the WordPress original code. And then we did the even more horrifying thing of going through what WordPress was actually doing. And I was horrified at all of the secret JavaScript and all the trackers and all this crazy stuff that was in there. And I was like, my website's super boring. I don't need all that garbage. And so what we ended up doing was, much like Derek, I am now a GitHub Pages person, and so this is my new website. I was also really happy because I was finally able to change the color of the text from that pink to a purple. That was really exciting for me, and WordPress would not allow me to do that. So this is the new amyhurst.com super static GitHub page. I have some ideas for a few more things I'm going to add, but again, the story comes back to I'm super lazy. I just don't want to be like embarrassing and lazy. So thank you, IndieWeb. All right.
Last one, I think.
So my setup here will be quite easy because I'm not going to plug anything in. So I've done a lot of stuff. I've created a lot of content and shared a lot of content on the web through various jobs, and I've been doing a lot of work as a community manager and developer of community activities in mostly 3D printing space, but beyond that. And at a certain point, I had just decided to kill all of my actual personal sites and stuff, and then grew rusty at doing anything that wasn't doing this sort of task for my work. And through Marty's non-subtle and constant evangelism of IndieWeb, I actually looked at what IndieWeb was and got really excited seeing things like Posse and Self Dog Food and thought, wow, this is this is not only some good tools and resources, this is sort of, I want to return to an experience of having conversations with people online the way it used to be in the early 2000s, late 90s. So, so instead of showing you something, I'm going to mention some of the things that I'm interested in that some of you may be experts in. Because I want to mess around with doing a portfolio site. I have lots of types of things and projects to put together. So I'd love to pick people's brains about some of the approaches, because I know there are a huge number of approaches that people have taken in IndieWeb. And I'm really curious. I do a lot of stuff in audio. For a while, I was one of 7 people who were working professionally in audio theater in the entire country. This was around like 2000, 2002. Now, of course, there are millions of podcasters everywhere. And I'm really interested in some of the tools that are popping up that are allowing you to do sorts of things like, taking some, audio recording and, working with time markers, et cetera, going back and forth with text, and finding various ways to both be capturing, like archiving events and activities so that there's a raw record for the future, and excerpting and doing useful things without spending a lot of time, finishing, producing things. That sounds pretty vague, and I could probably be more specific, but I want to see if anybody actually cares about this here. And also, one thing I'd really like to do, and I've seen some awesome examples in IndieWeb, and it's one of the things I will try to set up today and tomorrow, is kind of like a research log, capturing little bits of things and turning that into a regular activity in the spirit of IndieWeb. Anyway, and I'm Matt Griffin. See you.